The last name is Uloa.
I had to practice that. Forgive it, Oscar.
Uloa is not easy.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome.
Come on, baby.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's great to see everybody. It's taken us many months to get here, but welcome to Hetty NJ's first solo event.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wanted to have our first event initially spring 2020. Fate intervened, but here we are. So it's great to see our panel. Here at Hetty NJ, we cover all parts of the New Jersey cannabis industry and community. The aficionados, the connoisseurs here, the homegrown activists and advocates, the green rushers, the many professionals that make up the industry of lawyers, activists, accountants that are here. And we all share this dream of having a New Jersey adult use cannabis market. So it's great that we're getting close to it. Woo!
Why not? Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Woo!
So I want to thank our sponsors here, especially the New Jersey Cannabis Association. Great
Woo!
work they do.
Yeah.
They're a great organization, helping with small businesses in the industry. I also want to thank the Colorado Cannabis Real Estate Advisory Group for the great work they do. And I want to thank the Coalition of Medical Marijuana of New Jersey for being here. Thank you very much.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah, great activists. First, we want to thank Sativa Cross in general, for their advocacy and being here. I want to thank our vendor, McKenna Crops.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Hey, what's up, guys?
And I want to thank our food vendor, Mama Bo's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's meet our panelists here. We have Ed DeVoe, president of the New Jersey Cannabis Association. We have Stacy Udat here, is the principal of accounting firm HBK's Cannabis Solutions Group. And we have leading activist here, Edward Lefty Grimes of Sativa Cross. Let's start out with you. Tell us about your work then on the state level, in advocacy, where we are.
All right, Hetty NJ. What's up, everybody? I've been an activist for a long time, and we have a few things working on this year for activism. A lot of it has to do with wheelchair access lately. We just found out South Amboy has no wheelchair access to a police station. And disabled vets and other people with cancer are locked out of a police station. And this is the kind of stuff we see all over New Jersey because this is a town that banned medical cannabis. They banned medical cannabis in South Amboy. You can't get it. So there's no compassion. And when you see something like that, you gotta call people out because they pray before their meeting in South Amboy. So I prayed before their meeting too, and I went to church today. So I'm a little calmer today. I'm not going to yell and scream, but I'm a little calmer. But however, when you see Christians that are not doing what Jesus asked you to do, by putting the last first, they look at this step every day. They willfully ignore these steps that are going down to the police station where people can't access. And they just ignore it. And these are sick people. These are vets. These are people that need help. These are people that are the last. They need to be put first. So when I heard Senator Scutari talking about he's the Godfather, and I appreciate that. I'll give you the Godfather, okay. But take care of your godchildren. We're your godchildren. We need to give us access for medical cannabis. When you have a 21-year-old who can grow cannabis for profit for an ATC, but a cancer patient can't grow cannabis to treat their cancer, we have a disconnect. We're choosing capitalism over compassion at that point, and we need to do better as human beings to do something about these issues. A lot of towns that are taking that 2% cannabis tax have no wheelchair access. Bayonne's taking a 2% cannabis tax. They don't have wheelchair access to their police station at night. So we want representation for that taxation. If you're going to tax people in wheelchairs and people with cancer, well, we want representation for that taxation. And give us grants to everything that's available. In Linden, they did the businesses in Linden. I'm not sure who paid for it, but it looks like the town, when they did the whole sidewalk in Linden, they made all the buildings accessible across the street from the town hall. All the towns should be doing this with this wheelchair tax that they put on us. Yeah, I call it a wheelchair tax. But yeah, that's where I'm at, Dan. I'm trying to stay calm today, but you know, there's a lot going on, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy fighting for patients. We've been left in the dust, man. Everybody's talking about money now, and we're just waiting for home grow. We're sicking down people waiting for our medicine. And so, yeah, I got a problem when they choose capitalism over compassion. That's where I'm at.
Here, here. No doubt. I did want to talk about the issue of home grow. You know, Ed DeVoe, had the NJCBA panel on Friday with Senator Scutari of Union County, the prime cannabis sponsor. And that was good journalism there, asking him about home grow. That was a good question there.
I learned from the best.
Thank you. There. So it's interesting now bringing up the issue. It says, because he's saying the same thing. I remember being there in Trenton with Jim Miller saying that if you're saying the big issue is cannabis grown at home going to overtake the industry in terms of competition and literally cut into the profit margins, it's like, we want only 6 plants and you regulate that. That's not much of a business to do that, so. But it was great to have Ed, talk about that there. So, big issue though, of course, in cannabis now in New Jersey really is finding a location and where businesses that we want to be, where will they be? Like Lefty, you've done a lot of great work on this, going town by town. And Ed, you've pretty versed on this yourself. You want to talk about that then?
Sure. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me, and welcome everyone. Good to see everybody again. So on the issue of municipal decision making, I think that's the general topic. When they passed the legalization bill, they gave municipalities a lot of leeway with respect to what they can do and what they want to do. But look, that is the history of New Jersey and the whole issue of home rule. It is extremely challenging. I think we've seen that challenge on any number of issues. It just so happens that this is the latest and probably largest because it is such a cross-cutting issue, because it does deal with the medical community. It does, in fact, deal with the physical plant community. It deals with legal. It deals with financial issues. And now municipalities have this massive responsibility. And again, the amount of leeway that they have to make decisions. People sometimes will ask the NJCBA, well, what are the limitations? Well, the limitations are actually promulgated by municipalities. Like how many retail establishments, how many grow establishments, how many processing establishments. That is all up to the municipalities. The state did not dictate that. So how do we deal with it as the cannabis community? Number one is education. One of the things that I'm most proud of when it comes to heading NJ in the cannabis community, and I was speaking to some folks that were out of Dover, New Jersey, and we were talking about this. It's education. We have to educate municipal leaders on the benefits and school them on the myths about the challenges of cannabis. I can tell you that once the law passed a year ago, that the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association has in fact been invited to public meetings and yes, private meetings with municipal leaders to have the conversations about what do we do and how do we do it. We have just seen in Dover what the benefits of having those conversations are. Dover is now opting in. And we're proud of what is occurring there because of the civil conversations, the truthful conversations, and the fact that, I honestly believe, except in a few cases, that municipal leaders want to get to yes. I honestly believe that. I believe that mayors and councils want to get to yes. We have to help them get to yes. So it's education, it's communication, and lastly, I honestly think that it's a matter of how we portray the cannabis community. And when you look at this room and you see the diversity and the intellect and the honesty that's here in this room, this is what people need to see. So I think some of our next steps, hopefully I'm still on track here with the question, but I do think that some of our next steps are having municipal leaders invited to events like this so that they get to see and experience what the cannabis community in New Jersey is all about.
Yeah, where's Murphy?
Woo, woo.
Bad idea.
Bill Murphy, are you here?
Bill Murphy is not here. Stacy, so tell us about yourself in terms of like getting into the industry. Now that we've done the politics of it.
I'm Stacy Udell. I work at HBK, which is a large CPA firm. We are in 4 states officially, and our firm just decided to get in the industry of doing the typical accounting work that we do for other clients, but being able to do it for cannabis clients as well. And to do that, we had to talk to our insurance carrier, look at the risks, things like that. But it was something that we were eventually able to do. And our firm now has an into people that are specifically devoted to the cannabis industry and various parts of the industry. There's people that do audit, people that do tax. We help with cost accounting. I think most of the special help needed in the cannabis industry, relates to 280 taxes, and we have a group of people that help with that. Personally, I do business valuation work and work on projections and helping clients as they're applying for licenses and then when they're selling them down the road. But I think that's about it for my firm.
Stacy, you do my books anytime.
What was that?
You do my books anytime.
I'd be happy to. Well, I personally won't do them, but he can do them.
Right.
Nice. So yesterday, or actually it was Friday, we had a CRC meeting about the latest thing. Is one of the things that's been holding up cannabis. One of the many reasons that's been holding up cannabis in New Jersey is the lawsuits. There's been a few of them, and the first one was from 2018. They had a lawsuit where I thought they won, but it seems they have not, as they were denied licenses by the CRC, who argued that their applications were faulty versus their argument that they were illogical in their scoring. So what do you guys think about that? You want to start, Ed, or Lefty? Stacy?
First of all, I didn't introduce myself and our organization. We are sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey, advocating for disabled people and for cannabis patients' rights. You mentioned Dover before. There are 2 Dover, 2 members of our board that were involved in that Dover decision, Christian and Chris over here. Thank you very much for having me. They actually started a burn-up cleanup. Did I get it right? Burn-up cleanup? Christian was giving out joints to anyone who helped clean up Dover and pick up garbage around Dover. And I was like, that's a great idea, and it worked out really well. And so thank you guys for doing that. And so that's what we're doing. What was the question? I'm sorry, Dan.
The question was, what did you think of the CRC denying the 2018 applicants, denying them licenses after they won the court case?
It's easy, they fucked up.
More the same. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of that case, but I'm not the one to ask that question. I'm going to have a bad answer because I think I made a mistake in voting yes on this whole thing. And I thought with New Jersey Weed Men over this. We in New Jersey Weed Men had a little contentious battle about voting yes and no. And I voted yes because I want the constitutional right to grow cannabis. That's what I was voting for, the constitutional right to grow cannabis. And we didn't get that. We don't have anything close to that. I don't know what we have. I don't feel we have legalization. And, people fighting over scraps. If you're a micro business, you have a hard road ahead, and you got to get all your ducks in a row. You need someone like Stacey doing your bucks for you. You need someone really on the ball to make sure, because a lot of businesses fail. So We all need to stick together as working class people because we're fighting huge corporations.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same fight against rich against poor, and they're all teaming up against all of you. You see what's happening right now in our country. There's no more middle class. We're going to be poor and rich, super rich. So we all have to stick together and help each other. And there's no competition anymore. We got to help each other stand up and help each other up from now on. That's what it's all about. As far as denying those businesses, you know, that's lawyer stuff, man. And I don't get involved in that lawyer stuff because I can't stand that stuff. So everything's white, black and white to me. You got to fix the problems that we have and give us our licenses. Make sure that Chris and Chris can get a license. How come Chris and Chris can't get a license? We want a license for testing. We want to test patients' cannabis for free. As a 501c3, we want to test their cannabis for free. That's what we want to do. That's what we should be doing. And Chris and Chris, I think they want to do this in Dover. Let them do it in Dover. Let it become affordable to people, like the working class people, like we are. We're not rich people here. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Ed, did you want to opine on the 2018 practice?
So, look, I think what we've seen with respect to 2018 and 2019, and this is very important and why Stacy is needed, and why people should be speaking with Stacy. You can't deny that the way the system is currently set up, number one, it's not perfect. But then there's no such thing as perfect public policy. It's impossible to please everyone all the time. There is no such thing as perfect public policy. So given that, and when we try to do the best with what we've got, you're bound to fall short. And so, Lefty, to your point, I think what is being shown, and it happens to be one of NJCDA's biggest fears about moving forward, is that this is in fact a capitalist venture. Everything that we're doing to become part of the regulated market is at risk. Everything that you do is at risk. My fear is that as we were creating the laws and the regulations, my fear is that you have black and brown people, you have women, you have disabled, you have veterans that view legalization as the pass go, get your $200. And that's not the way it is. And I think that that's how we interpreted legalization. And so what we've got to do is make sure, again, not only educating municipal leadership, but educating potential applicants, regardless of what license they're going for, making sure that they understand that this is in fact at risk. Just because you were harmed by the war on drugs, you are still not guaranteed access into the industry. Not perfect, but that's what we have. That's the card we've been dealt with. It's our job to make sure that we create the best opportunity and the best chances to get licenses, to create the best chances by creating the best teams to go for these licenses. Not everyone is going to get a license. And so what I think the 2018, 2019 lawsuits showed, because multi-state operators got snake bit by that. And so they lost, but they had the capital. They were at risk. So we have to make sure that people with less capital take less of the risk. So that's my view on the 2018. It proved that this is in fact a capitalist environment, but that's the way it is. And so we've got to make sure that people that don't have the same resources as those prior losers, that they don't get hurt in this process.
So it was interesting, what you're saying, it made me think, I dealt in Ohio with a lot of lawsuits. And the problem was, everything is so subjective, which they showed the grading during the CRC meeting the other day. And yeah, I understand that the highs were still the highs and the lows were still the lows, but the scores vary. But it makes it very difficult, I think, when you have different people doing the grading And also, I mean, I hate to say it, but this wasn't their full-time job, so they were doing this likely, after they worked their 8-hour day, they were, potentially grading these licenses. I know that was happening in Ohio, but, it costs a lot of money for them to, do these appeals, and it isn't meant for the small guy because they can't afford the appeal process.
Yeah, so I think we've really hit the nail on the head here with the issue of trying to really create like an ideal market or a better market that's really centered around small business people and social equity. I think that's really the heart of the argument. That's where, like, N.J. Weedman has said that he doesn't feel that himself, as a small businessman, in the industry for some time, might not get a license. And if he doesn't get a license with a place that's the de facto license across from Trenton City Hall, what are we doing with the system here? That's why I applaud the NJCBA for understanding this issue. Not only under yourself, but Scott Rutter as well. Understood this issue. Like, we're really trying to fight for like a market on social equity. And I myself advocate for the Latino Action Network, on whose board I sit, about the need for social equity in the industry. That's how I got into this on some level. So, it's really important that way, though, that we do have like social equity. And it's interesting, we're seeing the CRC take this 180 turn from where they were in 18 under those rules to now where they're saying like a lot of the people that have applied already have conditional licenses, they were saying. A lot of them are social equity applicants. Of the many 300, I guess, applicants they've said already or so have fully applied. So it's really interesting as we move forward that way. So it's interesting. We also have, the 2019 medical debacle there with their RFA. It took 29 months. 29 months ago, I was barely getting into cannabis, and head of the NJ was near defunct, and look where we are now. It's been quite some time. What do you think about the winners there in that process?
What was interesting was the CRC took it upon themselves to increase the number of licenses. So when the original RFA came out, there was a set number for vertical, set number for cultivation, and set number for retail. And in a good way, they increased the number of licenses because they did in fact see the need. And at some point, what I do want to hear, because we get some news, and you could confirm this, I was glad that they increased the number of licenses because we hear that quantity and quality at this stage of the game is poor, right? Low on quantity, low on quality. And that's important because what we wrote in the regs is that you've got to take care of the medical community before you expand to the adult use community.
Amen.
And so that is a great notion, and what can we do to make sure that that we do reach the proper aspects of quantity and quality? In fact, Senator Scutari, in fact, addressed that. And he recognized that it wasn't, that the parity for medical wasn't there yet. And so what we've got to do is get back to that and make sure that the medical community is in fact taken care of as we move forward. So the 2019 round, we saw the increase in licenses. I do applaud the CRC for that. Now, whether you want to believe that the delays were a result of COVID and a result of other things, so be it. Here we are, 19 months later, 20 months later, it happened. Now it's time to move forward.
Yeah, certainly. We are moving forward now. We do have our adult use, cannabis market opening. We have, applications that are opening, as I was saying, for cultivation, manufacturing, and testing labs. And, we'll have dispensaries applications opening on March 15th. Everybody get ready to apply. I guess, Stacy, though, you are doing, some of those applications, aren't you? Or you tell us about your perspective on that, then?
We've been working with applicants, and something that I was talking to somebody here about is when they talked about the number of people that have applied. I am seeing a lot of people applying for the conditional licenses versus waiting for the annual licenses. And so I'm not sure that how much the numbers mean as far as how many people apply for the annual. I don't think that the intent of any of the applicants for the conditional license is any different than the intent of the annual license. So I think they're all, trying to get the same thing and just get there as soon as they can.
Yeah, certainly. So it'll be interesting now to see like who applies for what, for example, and like how it goes with dispensaries that way. Let's give me your thoughts on the adult use market here. It's opening.
Are there any 501c3s applying for licenses? No.
Normal five?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a donation box in the back. Go for it. We want some testing equipment, which costs, $40,000 maybe. I don't know. You have to have gas to run this equipment. Gases have to be pushed through it, so you have to have a lot of safety equipment. So there's a lot that goes into these things. Dan, we met at the State House, right? In Trenton. We do a podcast out in front of the State House. We've been there for 8 years. It started with Jackson Storms and his mom, Jenny.
There.
What's that?
I bet you're there.
That's right. Jenny and Jax, they used to protest every Thursday outside the State House. And we continued it after they had to go to Colorado because they couldn't get the medicine that they needed here in New Jersey to treat Jack's seizures, so they had to move out to Colorado as well as Vivian Wilson. I don't know if you all remember that story, it was a while ago. But we continued the fight out there, we continued our podcast out there. And we met a lot of great people out there. And I met a bunch of people, and politicians walk by. It's a great place to lobby. You've seen us out there, right? Yeah, we've all talked out there. So it's a great place to lobby and to get our point across. And for patients, we're allowed to smoke wherever you can smoke tobacco. So smoking cannabis on the State House lawn, people were like, you can't do that. Well, you're doing it. I remember one time the CWA, which I was a member of the CWA, they showed up with like 3 buses. This is what we need in Jersey for actual cannabis activists. 3 buses show up. There's somebody standing out there with a stack of T-shirts. Whoever gets off the bus gets a T-shirt. And they just took over. Without a permit, they just took over. And we're sitting there with our permit, and they just took over. And we're smoking cannabis. So they started complaining that we're smoking cannabis. So then the state police told them, no, they're allowed to smoke cannabis. So then half the CWA left, and half of them really were really interested in what we were doing. That was pretty cool. But when we met there, we did a lot of talking. And one thing that we did was we went to the Department of Health. Well, let me go back. Let me backtrack. I was told there by a man named Eliud. Remember Eliud? We shared our permit with the Cosecha, Licencia de Conducir. We shared our permit with them a couple of years in a row, 3 years in a row. So Eliud sat down with us one day, gave me some information. He says, Governor Murphy's going to be at this thing in the morning. Nobody knows about it, but only the Latino people know about it. I'm telling you. It's not listed anywhere, but I know. He said, go. I said, okay. It was like a fair, where they were at the job fair. So I go to this job fair, and sure enough, Governor Murphy shows up at this job fair. And then I found out later that he's speaking at night somewhere else. So I was with his staff member, Deborah, and we concocted a question. We made a question that Jeff Oakes was going to ask the governor. And the question that Jeff Oakes finally did get to ask the governor, I don't know if you saw the video, and Jeff Oakes is a man who was dying of cancer, by the way. If you don't know who he was, he had stage 4 cancer. He was fighting with us for years. He started using cannabis oil for his cancer. They gave him like 4 months to live back in 2016, and they didn't factor cannabis into his therapy. So Jeff Oakes lived for 4 years. And during that 4 years, he fought like nobody I saw in my life. He would go to council meetings with a chemo bag strapped to his hip. So we go to this meeting, and he asked the governor this question. I hope I get it right, but he says, the state will allow me to legally kill myself, but not give me the amount of medical cannabis that I need to treat my cancer. And Deborah made sure that was the last question he got that night because he had to walk off after that. But it was a missed opportunity for the governor because he could have taken Jeff Oakes under his wing and really made a point to help him. And I think it was a missed opportunity. So I hope the governor can come out on 420 to talk to the patients that really want to speak to him, the sick and the dying people that come out every month at the State House. We're having a rally on 420. We might have a cannabis cup there. We may have a harvest cup there. We may do a lot of different things this year because it's legal, sort of. So we want to invite the governor to the State House on 420. So let's see if maybe we can talk to the patients and hear what people have to say. People with multiple sclerosis, people with cancer, people that are dying. Let them hear from them and put the last first.
Yeah, that would be interesting to have Governor Murphy at the 420 event. He was asked if he ever smoked weed. He said no, quite unfortunately. But he does support it, so we're making progress there. So it's really great that he won re-election, of course, in November, so that we will be able to implement the market that we want to see, with, Diana Wayne, who was chair of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, an African-American woman, sees this from a social justice perspective, with more lives to get the market that we want to see, that we've been moving forward towards. So that'll be fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, though. The lounges looks like they're the most controversial things there. What do you guys think about lounges?
I'm not still very story here, but because it was at your event that I learned this, the importance of lounges, and maybe I'm just naive, but I never really thought about it before. But all of, people that live in Section 8 housing can't use medical marijuana in their houses, so that's why we need lounges. And I really just thought it was, people just trying to get their spouses out of the house or something, but, it ends up being it's actually for a legitimate purpose.
Yeah, so lounges are tough, and I'll tell you why. It's not for not wanting them. Again, it's this education piece. It's educating leadership, the people that are responsible for zoning, for planning, for those ordinances, to let them know that it's okay. I kid you not, we are still dealing with the perceptions of gang wars, high crime, and certain elements of society that are going to rain down upon your community if you have certain activities. And so lounges is probably the least favorite of the 6 licensing categories.
That's why I think we need public service announcements as an industry to head off the misinformation that we're getting from, the government, because they don't understand it, because they are afraid of it. And so we almost as an industry, all the groups combined need to go, hey, did you know? Did you educate on a big platform? But they won't let us. We're banned from most media sources. Going to the road.
Well, it goes back to my earlier points, right? The notions of education and communication, and an event in that we have, that we actually create invitations and invite municipal leadership. And let's say that this is, you shouldn't be afraid of lounges, that lounges in fact were the result of social equity and social justice issues that we address in the legislature. So in as much as we get frustrated with public policy and we get frustrated in public discourse, some good things did come out. And so we've got to jump on the opportunities that we did create to do better. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers the question. That worked. No, you were saying before about the issues that they see as gang wars. If you're going to put a gang that's licensed and not people that have spent a lot of time on paperwork and things like that to get things going, unfortunately. So, but where do you guys see cannabis going in 5? We're all dealing with these little problems here, getting it going. But where are we going then, or where do we want to be then? Well, I know you want home grow. So.
I want home grow, and I want patients to be able to make their own RSO fecal oil, fecal oil. Jason had to leave, but Jason is actually making a video on how to make fecal oil for patients. We should all learn how to make our own fecal. If you need medicine, it's the way to go. And I actually need some for my cat. My cat was actually just diagnosed with cancer.
I'm sorry, Lefty.
So I need fecal for my cat, and I don't know how to dose my cat. I can take fecal all day. It's not going to affect me, but I don't want to give my cat something that's going to make him feel worse or make him just be laying around all the time either, because I know fecal knocks you on your ass. I know that. And a good dosage is what you need. So I'm just afraid how to treat my cat for this thing. So I need to make awareness how to make these videos, because it's very important. Jason uses a method that gets 20% back. And people laugh at that. They're like, that's impossible. No, he uses dry ice, and he uses an alcohol extractor, an alcohol still, so he recycles through the alcohol. He uses an edible alcohol, and you recycle it through the still, and you don't waste anything. And there's got to be a way to make it patient-friendly where you can set up a box. Right now, we're at the point where there's filters. These filters are dripping into a container. And I think for patients, it should be maybe like, we're going to have to build a box. I want to build something so that it's easy for patients to make their own fecal. Because fecal is what people need. It's medicine. And it's easy to make if you know how to do it. And it's a very simple process. You just have to know how to do it and execute it properly. And make it user-friendly.
Yeah. Need more information or education.
Stacey, what do you want the market to look like in 5 years here?
5 years from now, I think it's going to be very different. And when we look back, I think we're going to think, well, I know I'm going to think that we wasted a lot of money and a lot of time on nothing because of all the politics involved. I mean, I think it's hard to believe that it won't be legal. It won't be just like going into the liquor store in 5 years. So we've spent a lot of money on lawyers, lobbyists, accountants, and all that to get this business, their business is going, when I think 5 years from now, it's not going to be any different than alcohol. And it'll be interesting to see if we have, are groups like this going to be around 5 years from now? Because if it's just a business like any other business, are people going to care how much, how regulated will the industry be? I mean, it's still going to be regulated just like, pharmaceutical companies are and food companies are, but it's going to be interesting to see how it changes when it's illegal. It's just as normal to go to a dispensary as it is to go to a liquor store.
I'm so excited for the research that's going to come. That's what I'm excited for.
More research.
Yeah. That's what we need.
I view the journey that we're on in four steps, 4 phases. We went from criminalization to weaponization, and then we went to legalization, and I think the next step is normalization. So this is my vision of, you're going to walk down a street and you're going to walk by a pizza parlor. You're either going to walk in or you're going to walk by it, and you won't think twice. You're going to walk by a liquor store. If you're 21, no, actually, as a liquor store, you can be under 21 and walk in. Or you're going to walk by it, and you won't think twice. And then there will be a retail establishment or a dispensary. And if you're 21, you're either going to walk in or you're going to walk by it, but you won't think twice about it. And so I think we're at the point where we're going to have to do some things to improve legalization, but ultimately I think we get to normalization.
That should be a
T-shirt
t-shirt.
normalization, not legalization. Legalization, then normalization.
The four.
Nice.
Yeah, that already exists in some towns, where
Really?
people just walk by a building and they don't even know, well, the way the laws are written, dispensaries can't have signage. They have to kind of blend in.
Right.
And really, the Maplewood, Phillipsburg, you just walk by the building, it's just a beautiful building. They're coming in and fixing them up.
Yeah, let's take some questions from the audience here.
So, in the States, I've seen them start later than us, finished before, and seen it go so quick. You did mention a couple of topics on point. you know, why is New Jersey being so difficult? Like, I know why. It's an embarrassment. It's all like political. No one wins anything at all. And I just had a question about, I think it's like 87 new licenses. I don't know, maybe off and on, being granted for dispensaries.
So, there's an unlimited amount of licenses available for adult use right now, except for large-scale cultivation, which has a cap of 37.
37.
And that cap expires February 2023.
And I wanted to ask, is there like a list of them or locations to start, before you even start up, I can get involved and be part of it? Or, I like to see what's around me where I live. And, I want to get involved in it too. So ahead of time,
Well, you should always read headynj.com, become informed about everything. I do have the list of all the dispensaries and towns they are, the articles. Just have a feature with that more, though. Yes, Ron.
So Dan, if I might, just a comment about the 2018 Appellate Division case. So I've read it about 6 times, and I'm sorry, I've also had about 6 beers. That's another story. So the Appellate Division was very angry with the Department of Health because they had these scorers. One was an architect and then gave a score with respect to the agricultural aspect of the application. And one may have been an accountant, and the scores were just all over the place. But the Appellate Division said, CRC, and I don't blame them, let's be honest, the CRC has a tremendous workload, and they're very understaffed. There were all kinds of litigation that said they needed to be union, et cetera, et cetera. That aside, I think they're doing a good job. But, however, the CRC, I think, missed the whole idea and the premise behind the Appellate Division's decision, which was, listen, you could grant these applications for these poor folks from 2018, or you could rescore it or have some type of an appeal process. And absent that, it's a big problem. So quite frankly, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm perplexed as to why the CRC just said, deny. We did the right thing. We scored it the right way. No, you didn't. You really didn't. So I'm hoping that maybe they revisit that as opposed to litigation once again. And who gets rich on litigation? The lawyers, right? Just simply the lawyers. And you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And what's the best? What is the birth control that most attorneys use? Their personalities. Thanks.
Guys, want to
I'm an attorney, by the way.
Yeah, Ron Mondell, the attorney for Hoboken, he denigrates attorneys and his own intelligence here.
Yeah, I was on the board of MSO.
That's how we met.
Yeah. And they used me to get points. Apparently, you get points for using an activist to get on your end board. I don't know how they used it, but whatever. And they put together this board. We had 2 meetings in 2 years. Literally 2 meetings in 2 years. And I'm begging them for meetings, and we never got those meetings. They didn't like me because I was advocating for wheelchair access in the greenhouses. Stuff like that they didn't, labor peace agreements with the UFCW, things like that.
What a dick.
And, just little things like that. And so I didn't get my stock. So I didn't take the money either. They offered me money and I didn't take it. So nobody can say I took the money. But it was an MSO, and I don't know how that point system works. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that is an interesting issue, actually, about the point systems and the nature of the patient on the board there. Shout out to Mike Brennan of CMMNJ. I got to write about that issue this week. Do we have any more questions? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know what towns are now about to allow this in the next couple of months.
So I have that behind the Patreon wall. If you become a supporter of HeadyNJ.com. So it's hard though, because it's legitimately difficult information about what town is doing what and what town is changing. Like Dover. So like there was one list that said Dover was just banned. Like not that it was banned, but like in 3 months will be good, as I knew, and a few other people knew they would do it eventually. You know, we have a
There's
few
over
towns.
500 municipalities in New Jersey, and trying to keep tabs on every single one is almost impossible. To his point, you kind of have to either be an expert in the county. There are reports, rolling reports that come out every so often, but they change drastically. So like you'll read it one week and then you go, oh, well, this town just came in, so.
Actually, there was some dispensaries supposed to open in Brick, and they were saying, no, it was almost open. It was a former bank. Oh, I gotta check them out. I'm just gonna go over there. It's a shuttered up building. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
They have a line of like CBD products and everything. So well, after they have a storefront already, and you know they're going to get approved. And then Brick turned around and banned them. Whatever that caused.
Yeah, they were completely SOL. I remember reading about that. I don't think I wrote about it though, but I read about it.
I just read about it.
Nice. Do you have a question?
I have a question. I just want to thank all four of you for holding this space with us, for sharing time, for sharing your stories, for fighting a good fight. It's really nice to be here together. I'm so grateful to be here amongst you all, and I just want to show my gratitude. And that's for everyone in here too. Every single person I had today. My name's Corey. Hey. I just want to say thank you all.
You're welcome. We have other questions? Here?
I want to give Dan like huge props for an awesome event. Like,
Don't be sorry. Keep going.
Anybody else wants to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I think we're good here. You know, I do want to thank our sponsors again, the New Jersey Cannabis Association, and their great work. We want to thank, of course, Colorado Cannabis Real Estate Group for their support of Hetty and Jay, and we want to thank. We want to thank our vendor again, McKenna Crops. We want to thank CMM and Jay for their great work and advocacy. We want to thank, of course, Steve Cross here and their great work. So I want to thank my partner, publisher Brian Wallace over there. Our marketing director Dominic DeLuca. Our great master promoter here, Diana McElroy. I want to thank our door guy, Paul Mulquin. And I want to thank our host here, Ambassador Studios. So everybody should stick around, mingle, hang out, and enjoy yourselves. We're here till 5. God bless and have a fun holiday.